That's a change. Is that going? Okay. I think that's fixed. Maybe we fix it, guys. Maybe we fix it, guys. Nice. Perfect. Excellent. Okay. So, having a bit of a cultist meeting because I'm doing a push the next 2 weeks to finish this freaking affiliate nonsense that has been plaguing all of my algorithms. So, we're going to do 3 90-minute streams. This is going to be the first one. We're going to talk about some of the things that I do in my book, which need to do anyway. Need to do a lore drop, overdue for one. And in addition to those things, we will complete this task of having 3 concurrent viewers and not get the averages bumped into our 6-hour streams. So that'll solve that problem. And I figured out the vertical stream, which is awesome. That has been a real pain. So luckily that is solved now. So now we are on both of the YouTubes, which is good. But it's good. Craps are sore. Oh, I hauled a bunch of pumpkins today. I probably oughtn't to have done that, but good to move pumpkins around, you know. Tomorrow I will machete them open, and that'll be good. Speaking of pumpkins, I got my seed book today. I'm so excited. Last year, I semi-intentionally made an edible garden for the chickens to all hang out in. And I got a bunch of giant sunflowers, which were awesome. I have a bunch of like Jurassic Park style edits of them just wandering around in them. That was really fun. I grew a ton of basil, but then I was in a contentious battle with one of the field managers, and I thought he unplugged my grow lights. So I ended up growing like a fuck ton of basil. I won't need basils. I will not need basil seeds for the next like foreseeable future. I have like a quart jar of just basil seeds. It's insane. But I'm gonna find for you guys. They have so many cool things in this book. If you guys are gardeners, I'm not sponsored by these people, by the way, but Baker Creek Seeds, love them. Borage. I want to grow some more of that. Borage is cool because it tastes like cucumbers and the flowers are edible. It is also medicinal, I guess. You can make tea out of them. Yum, tasty. And it's just pretty, like, to have the little flowers and stuff. Ooh, butterfly peas. Nice. So this is how I make this tasty purple lavender tea that I will have to make for you guys one of these nice hot summer days. It's really fun and pretty. But it's like a lavender honey iced tea, but it's the pea flowers make the whole drink purple, which is really fun and cool. So you can have pink lemonade, but it ends up being purple. And then there's like a little like chemical reaction that happens that makes it this really pretty purple color instead of the blue. I was gonna show you guys all the cosmos that I planted. Ooh, there. These are all the cosmos. I have some of those drying behind me. Additionally, with some of my gigantic African, oh, here's some more pictures of them. Some of my African marigolds, which, by the way, marigolds are what make my chickens orange. My chickens' eggs orange. So if you're wanting like a really dark egg yolk, the capsaicin and peppers and the How do I separate that from? Oh, yeah, I don't want that to be crazy, but I need more of my yarrow seeds, like straight up Red Dead Redemption. I'm growing those in a field. Delicious. You can make like little teas and stuff like that if people are sick. Plus, it's just super cool. So I basically had this like idea, this contra-vision of making like edible bouquets for people, I guess. But all of it ended up coming out and being ready in like August or something like that. Like I need to establish like a cold frame or something like that so that that can all be ready ahead of time. Yeah, these marigolds were super cool. I ended up getting, I had a couple of French marigolds, and then I got these gigantic Cracker Jack marigolds, which is awesome. They're like the size of my hand. It was like a 4 to 5 inch bloom on those. It was crazy. And they're so smelly. Like you get in there and you just like smell like marigold. So eventually I could make like some like flower based perfumes and stuff like that. Here's some milkweed. I wanted to get butterflies, but I don't really want butterflies all that bad. I think I have plenty of the other types of pollinators. But yeah, this book is great if you do any kind of gardening and stuff like that. Super cool and fun. I mean, honestly, even if you did like collages, like if you're like a collage girly or whatever, there's all kinds of like that's like such a collageable like little flower situation. Parsley. Oh man, this parsley's so thick it looks like a bonsai. Isn't that crazy? I love gardening, you guys. It's way cheaper than therapy, turns out. Here's all the peppers. Nice. Brown jalapenos, purple peppers. Oh, these are Brazilian chilies. No wonder they're colorful. Ooh, fish peppers. An African American heirloom popular in Philadelphia and Baltimore for its notable and unique history. Compact 2-foot plants have a striking decorated leaf of white and green. Peppers undergo fascinating color change from creamy white to green, then orange, and finally red. That is crazy. So they just have like all kinds of like super cool fun plants in here. I would also like to grow loofahs. There's like a squash that you grow that you can make loofahs out of, which I think would be really cool. I like the idea of like scrubbing the like the chicken waterers and stuff like that because it gets a lot of algae in it. Just scrubbing it with like a loofah plant would be really cool. Plus, I think that's one of the only plants I could grow out there that the chickens wouldn't immediately consume, like ravenous beasts. Ooh, there's a lot of pretty sage and stuff in here too. Nice. I tried to grow snapdragons and they are doing amazing right now. They must like really cold. Oh, okay. They come out in the spring and then again in the fall. So I better pick some of those snapdragons for you guys because it seems like they don't do well in the winter. But they're doing like gangbusters right now. They're just huge in my manger garden. It's absolutely ridiculous. I was trying to have snapdragons for all of my other plants and they're just like way later, it turns out, than I thought. Oh, interesting. These people are using acorn squash to make little pancakes. I thought of making little squash pancakes. That's probably a recipe I need to put in the cookbook. So I am working on the cookbook. Tomorrow I'm going to wrestle a couple more recipes out of my mother-in-law. We are making progress on the cookbook. It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like it is, but it is being made progress on. So far on that one we have We have her lemon blueberry cookies. So this is just the table of contents. These are then the things I need to like hammer out into. We're still in the drafting stages, unfortunately. But I do have a lead on the Historical Society to give me some photos of like some of the early like buildings and stuff like that from the town. So I'm going to be including those in the cookbook too. So it'll be kind of like history cookbook, which is really fun. And I guess if you guys haven't seen this before, I'm basing the formatting of her cookbook off of this cookbook, which is Italian Immigrant Cooking by Elodia Rigante. And it starts off really, really cool. It has like all of these black and white photos and stuff like that of the family at like a dinner table. Very fun. And then it's like where they came from in Italy, and then pictures of like their first like delicatessen and stuff like that. And it goes through like the history and like where their family all came from and what they do. And, like, look at that deli. Spectacular deli. So I'm going to try and do a very similar thing with my mother-in-law's cookbook because I feel like that is the way to tie all of this in together. And then I'll have her ideally, I'll have her doing signings at this at a local food festival, which they were trying to get her, it was one of the orchardists that I work with was trying to get her to do like a pie contest, like judging pies and stuff like that. And now she's retired. So maybe she will guest host on that and then also sell her cookbook. So that's in the works. We're working on that. And once I finish all of the drafting and stuff for hers, I might as well just throw my own recipes in and then I'll release my own cookbook. Something autism cookbook. Because over the last, I guess it would be about over the last like 16 years or whatever, I've compiled like 120-ish recipes that I really enjoy. So I will be putting that out as well. It'll be less fancy, probably just an ebook. So if you want that signed, I will just send you a digitally signed version, I think is what I will do. Instead of having a physical copy of that. Rhythm with Autism, exactly, Max. So we are working on the cookbook. I'm getting, oh yeah. So here are some of the initial recipes. We have lemon blueberry cookies. Phenomenal, fantastic. There are some people in the community that never even tried these cookies because they sell out every time she makes them. They're phenomenal. Raspberry thumbprint cookies. So for those in the UK or whatever, those are like kind of like a jammy Dodger. They're fantastic. It's like the perfect, like moist, kind of crumbly shortbread with like a beautiful like raspberry jam in the middle. She also does a caramel pecan roll. And unlike a regular cookbook, I will be putting all of the desserts in the front of this book, I think. Because that's the first thing I do when I get a cookbook is I just crack it all the way to the back to see what the desserts are like. Because if the desserts are crap, the rest of the book is crap. These people clearly do not understand like the chemistry behind cooking. So if the desserts are kind of meh, I'm not buying the cookbook. You know what I mean? So I'm going to save you guys the time and the trouble. And I am just going to put all of the desserts in the front because I know what you guys like. I know what you guys like. So I'm going to get that all worked out for you guys. Japanese melon bread. See, I like the Asian market that I go to does a like a pineapple bread. It's fantastic. It's delicious. It's actually phenomenal, delicious. And every time I go see the Taxman, I get that bread, which is why I go to see the Taxman in January like a psychopath. Because that's what I do the week after Christmas is I finalize all my taxes. And I say, "Hey Taxman, are you still alive?" And he says, "The number you have reached cannot be completed as dialed." And my inbox is full. And so then I have to drive down there and say, "Taxman, are you alive?" And he's like, "Oh, Riley, how are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, the Taxman is alive for yet another year." So hopefully he's alive for a great long while, though he is in poor health and a hippie. So ideally, that will be a long time. I'm not ready for a new Taxman, you guys. I am very prone to stress when there are changes involved in my schedule. So hopefully I don't have to find a new Taxman for the foreseeable future. However, ideally, we will also have her finger steak recipe, which is an Idaho classic. Did you guys know that finger steaks were 1, invented in Idaho, and 2, invented at the strip club I used to work at. Yes, that is correct. Look it up. The Torch in Boise, Idaho is where finger steaks originated. Not while I was a strip club. It was actually like a pub or something like that before it became a strip club. But it is where finger steaks were invented. And it is hilarious because it's a historical building based off of that fact. There are super fancy establishments in Idaho that have like very pristine historical pictures of that strip club in their like lobbies and stuff like that. And you're like, why is there a photo of a strip club at this like swanky restaurant? And it's because it's a historical building that predates it being a strip club, which I've always found kind of funny. But before it was chick stripping, it was a place that served chicken strips. So that is definitely going to be in the book. Maybe not that cheeky little antidote, but maybe in mine. Maybe in mine, I will put that recipe as well. Then, her fish and chips is phenomenal. I feel like that one's all Yule. Her fish and chips is so good. Nice and crispy and flaky and just, I actually kind of want that right now. Like a little bit. Like I'm not big on tartar sauce, but, like a really nice pan fried halibut is just like so tasty. And then, what else have we got in here? She also makes pumpkin bread, which hubby's British friend is absolutely obsessed with. Key lime pie, maple bars. She has a homemade pie recipe that like made our restaurant famous. So I might be including that. That might be a DLC. Who knows? But it is a phenomenal recipe that takes years to master. So yeah, maybe I just put that out to the general public. I mean, like, realistically, only 2% of the population is going to be able to make it. It's crazy. It's so hard to do. I don't even really like doing the pie dough because it's so difficult, but it's phenomenal. And then she makes a fruitcake so good it'll make you rethink every fruitcake you've ever been forced to eat in your life because it's like it transcends all logic, this fruitcake. She also made some pretty delicious gingerbread cookies, but I have like a weird thing attached to gingerbread, but that'll be in the cookbook. So stay tuned for that project. And I know that we were talking earlier about why I give the characters the personalities that I do, and also why the movie Hoodwinked has scarred me for life. So when I was a youngin', we were in school, and we had this class called like personal skills development, which doesn't make any sense. And they taught us personalities, but they taught it to us all wonky and weird. So they insisted, oh, I'm grabbing the wrong one. Okay. Where's it out? There it is. So they taught us personalities as follows. So they taught us to them, they taught this to us based off of color. And I very quickly found out that my personality is red. So this does not ascribe all of the things that they ascribe to it, but this did have all of the colors that we did. So we were, our task every time we came into class was to do a brain teaser and to do a detailed analysis of a children's movie to determine who had what personality. Now, what purpose this served escapes me entirely, because I don't think anyone that it was for took anything away from it, and everybody else already knew this information. So I want to say the Wolf and Red Riding Hood were the two characters that butt heads in that movie. It's been ages since I watched it. But they were both red personalities, and then the squirrel was either orange or yellow. And then like the woodsman and stuff like that were like green or blue or whatever. And we would have to go through and like extrapolate all of this knowledge from here. And then I think there's Hoodwinked too, isn't there? Aren't there 2 movies? Look that up. Hoodwinked. Okay, yeah, so like I think the grandmother was blue and the woodsman was blue and the wolf and the no, it's the frog. It was the frog and the wolf that were both red. And then the squirrel was orange for sure. And it was supposed to be some greater analysis on why like these different personalities like don't mesh well together and need to be separated. Not really sure why we had to have that like specifically as an analysis as children, but like they were very determined to drill that into our heads. And so then we also watched Home on the Range, which was a fascinating juxtaposition. Oh, that's crazy. That's a different one. Home on the Range. So we also watched Home on the Range, which gave everybody a very unrealistic understanding of how farms worked. So when I first took one of my best friends down to visit my family, I was like, hey, this movie has given you an inaccurate representation of how this is going to go. They don't sing, and something is invariably going wrong, and there may be a death on the property, like while you're here. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? And I'm like, no, this is like one of the most dangerous occupations, and this is not all sunshine and roses. This is going to be a very big problem. And then what invariably would happen would be that would be the most uneventful weekend of my entire life, where everything seemingly just went perfectly fine and nothing bad occurred, and everybody just rode four-wheelers all weekend. And I'm like, well, I watch my family do a caricature of people that like have it together, and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, who are these people? Like, show them the monster you are. Anyway, so yeah, this class was so weird. I guess it was like their take at the time on like what a study hall would be, I guess, but no one was studying anything. It was at like the most random part of the day. This was clearly just a filler class that like they'd contrived out of nowhere. They were like, yeah, we're gonna have all of the students just like randomly be in a class, and we're gonna call it like personal skills development or whatever, but we're gonna teach them very little personal skills. And it's mostly just going to be them like kind of like screwing off and doing nothing. So we had like a brain teaser, like I said, then we did personality stuff, and mostly I just slept in that class. Mostly I just took the grandest of siestas because that was my second class of the day. My first class of the day was advanced biology, and I was killing it because my teacher was like an avid like outdoorsman, so he'd always regale us with stuff like, oh yeah, I go elk hunting, and then my wife picks blueberries in the woods, and then that's how we feed our family for the whole year. Anyway, kids, turn to page 13 and I'll show you about like how mitosis and meiosis happens in a cell. And I was just like, this is like peak. This guy is so peak, you guys. This guy's like low-key Bear Grylls teaching us science. And they were like, Riley, calm down. And I was like, no, this guy is like the pinnacle. Because again, I was way ahead of my time, you guys. Call me crazy, but I'm like way good at pattern recognition. I was like, yes, see, this is going to be the ideal in like 20 years. I'm ahead of the curve. Everybody thinks this was, I think, also pre-Timothy Chalamet like type of popularity. You know what I mean? Like where like dads were still very much, for the most part, like low-key kind of rugged back then, but for whatever reason back then it was cringe. They're like, oh, my dad's a Republican or whatever. And I'm like, this guy's based as hell, you guys. Like, you're not seeing like the aura coming off of this guy right now, but like, I'm crazy then, I guess. All right. So then I also wanted to show you guys where. Okay. So then the moment that I get into personality types, I get into Myers-Briggs. So this is like essentially the fundamental like foundation of how I construct all of my characters. So I take the base stats essentially of what their personality entails, like how they would choose to interact with the world. And then from that, I extrapolate how their potential relationships with the other characters. I have like an entire like eventually I'll have like a little red string board of like how everybody interacts and like how everybody vibes with each other, because it really does make it easier to write like dynamics if you know kind of like how someone is like perceiving the world and what kind of things. Basically, this is like the ultra logical version of like astrology, because like this is how all of these people would interact with each other. So like for example, initially Serena is an INTJ. So she's like low key, kind of like Suguru Gato, because everything is kind of going like kind of shit in her life, and she needs like a silver lining somewhere, and it is just all dark clouds as far as the eye can see. So she is having difficulty with those things. Now, as she progresses in the story, she shifts to more of an ENTJ. Things start going a little bit better for her, and then only time can tell what the final personality she will blossom into and achieve. Maybe she just stays an ENTJ. Who knows? And then I want to say that it's really much easier if I can see like the different archetypes that are in this. But Dimitri, I think, is an INTJ, I think. Whichever one is either the sage or the architect, I think, something like that. And funny enough, one of the architects in Sun and Steel actually fits into the architect like personality thing, which I thought was kind of cheeky and funny. I was like, oh, that's interesting that he would like specifically fall into that category. Like how quaint. It must have been modeled after that kind of person that would go into that field. Anyway, yeah, this map of how everybody interacts with the world makes it very easy to figure out how they would react within the worlds that I would throw them into. Then I got even further into it, guys, because for the longest time I didn't know what my blood type was. And then somebody asked me why I was so weird. And turns out I am in type A blood type. I guess this is more prevalent in like Asian cultures and stuff like that, like dating for like your blood type, which is super important, turns out, for whatever reason. Massively important. But almost nobody knows what their blood type is, which is crazy. And you can't really get that information either. Like, everybody needs to know this information, but it's not readily available. So, I am like type A negative. However, almost all my family is type O, which is wild. And then I have some extended family members that are AB, which is how I even fit into that whole scenario. But the current family that I have migrated into with hubby is all A negative, which is bananas. That's not very many people that are A negative, because these are even just in the regular like categories, and this doesn't take into account like the RH factor or whatever, but like crazy wild how the personalities of that will go and break down. And here's the thing, if people can quantify things, you can almost guarantee that it's been quantified before. So a sec, my Twitch is